Hey folks, Dylan Goodson here. Since nearly all of the carvings I do are commission projects, very rarely do I get a chance to show them off and share them with people. But I've been working on this project for quite a while, and it's just too good not to share. I grew up reading fantasy stories like The Lord of the Rings, so I was super excited when I was commissioned to carve this fantasy-themed Lord of the Rings inspired chessboard. So let's take a look at it and I'll give you a little tour of it. Now, my customer had a specific vision that he was looking for me to bring to life. And the details that he laid out for me were the 4 three-dimensional figures at the corners of the board. He wanted the Hobbit hole on one side. To the sides, the 2 sides of the board, he wanted to be fight scenes between groups of elves and dwarves, humans and orcs. And then the opposite side here is the dragon laying on its hoard of treasure. And these are drawers which you can store your pieces in. And of course, he's got a really fabulous set of chess pieces already. So that I fortunately did not have to carve. Now, this project took nearly 540 hours to complete. I spent over 100 hours just drawing the designs for the figures on the corners, the drawer fronts, and the sides. The sides were quite a large challenge with getting proper anatomy or realistic anatomy, because who can say what proper anatomy is for an elf or a dwarf? But getting realistic anatomy for the figures in these fight scenes, getting those poses correct, that was quite a challenge for me, and it took quite a lot of time. Now, one of the really fun details of this carving that might not be easily seen unless you get the opportunity to see it in person is that the Hobbit hole and the dragon are actually the same shape. And the way I created that was by superimposing the patterns for each side on top of one another as I was drawing. And I was actually doing that on the computer, which made that a lot easier. But the back of the dragon, or the wing of the dragon, is the grassy side of the hill above the Hobbit hole. And, then the neck of the dragon would come around. The head of the dragon would be where the door of the Hobbit hole is. The nostrils of the dragon would be where this little window is. So that was a really fun idea that I fortunately was able to execute. And so that's something that's a little hard to see if you can't see both of the designs side by side. Now, on the corner figures, we've got your classic wizard. And we all know who that is, so I don't actually need to mention his name. Then we have a elf that is standing guard. My favorite out of all of them would be the orc. He's got the most dynamic pose, putting his foot up on this skull, which is kind of cracking under the weight that he's putting on it. That's a fun carving to do. And then, of course, we've got your human warrior standing guard here. He's got his sword and shield ready to go. The shield is probably my favorite detail of him, and you can't even really get a good view of the buckle and strap on the back side of the shield, and that was fun to carve and really came out well. The wizard you might recognize. He's actually featured in my little video about carving a hooded robe, the little time-lapse video that I did a while back. Getting the trim pieces that the figures stand on, getting the angles where the trim fits into the piece that juts out for the figure to stand on. That was quite a challenge for me. And actually the construction, there was a lot of engineering and construction that went into just making the box and the drawers, and just making it all was quite a woodworking challenge for me. Fortunately, I didn't have to make the marble board that was supplied to me by my customer, and it's just a really gorgeous, very striking marble board that he was able to find, and I just inset that and epoxied that into the top of my box here. One little detail that you probably can't tell from the camera is I actually angled the sides of the board by about 5 degrees just to make the designs a little bit more visible when you're sitting at the table. You can kind of look down at it a little bit better as opposed to if it was completely vertical. Now, the metal weapons was another request of my customer, and it was something that he just asked, that was part of his initial vision, but he asked, was that possible? And what I did for him, what I was able to do, was I actually carved the weapons out of basswood. The entire thing is made out of basswood, but I carved the weapons out of basswood and then gilded them with silver to give them a metallic steel type look. And it was fairly effective. It was fun to kind of figure out the different accessories. Of course, the main weapon of each character is gilded, and with the design of the orc, with him holding the spear, so he actually has got 2 weapons. Then I had to figure out additional accessories to gild for each of the other figures. And of course, the border of the shield was a fairly natural choice for the human warrior. Now, on the spears, instead of trying to put silver leaf on a little bamboo screw or something like that, I just bought stainless steel rod and buffed that up to use as the shafts of the spears. And that worked out really well. So I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of my Lord of the Rings themed chessboard. If you have enjoyed it, then subscribe to my channel. I may do some more videos like this in the future, and be sure to check out my website. There's more photographs of my work there, and that is OldOakEnterprises.com. And I also send out an occasional newsletter by email, letting people know when and where I'll be teaching. I teach seminars both online and in person, so be sure to check those out while you're there on my website.